The first thing that he said was, Amina, it's good to see you and you've lost weight.
Welcome to the making of a podcast by Grazia. I'm Olivia Morris, and in each episode, we sit down with someone whose story reminds us that success is not always linear. This week, we're thrilled to welcome Amina Taher. She's an Emirati figurehead who has truly opened so many doors for so many others as well as herself. This is the making of Amina Taher.
Being a woman in a leadership role meant I had to prove my values twice. It's a culture that's based by the values of innovation, coexistence, and collaboration. It's about how you make people feel, how do you help people grow, how do you help your society progress.
We've known each other a very long time, and I'm so thrilled for you to be here to explore your journey as an incredible Emirati businesswoman and really shaping leadership in the Emirates, which is incredible. So thank you for being here.
Shukran, and thank you for the generous introduction. It's always great to see you, Liv.
I really want to take it back to the beginning because obviously we're exploring your life and your career and the moments that have shaped you and your journey in building a career in the UAE. So if we take it back to the beginning, you were born and raised in Dubai by some very strong women and influences in your life. Can you kind of take me back to your childhood and how you grew up and some key moments that have shaped the person that you've become today?
I grew up in the UAE. Witnessing its transformation has shaped every part of me. And being in a place that's very progressive, it doesn't just help you grow. You grow with it by default, and that's in itself powerful. And to me, you've been living here, Liv, for the past few years, and you've seen the Emirati culture. It's a culture that's based by the values of innovation, coexistence, and collaboration. And that's the spirit that, we grew up with. We're very tribal here in the UAE, and it feels like a one big family. And it's very spiritual in a way, and I love that. So that shaped who I am. It shaped my values, my personality, and the leadership qualities that I've inherited.
One of the key people in your life that has really shaped who you are is your grandmother. And you have a lovely anecdote about her and the type of woman that she taught you to be, correct?
The first leader I was exposed to since I was a child was my grandmother, was my mother's mother. And she's not with us now, but she's always here and here. She's always guiding me. And her leadership qualities is all about empathy, empowerment, collaboration, and courage to speak your mind no matter what. And growing up in an environment with strong, independent women really shaped who I am. I grew up in an environment where every Friday we used to go to my grandparents' house. We used to actually call it my grandmother's house. See how strong women in my family are or were. And we would have lunch with my parents, my sisters, cousins, second cousins, neighbors, extended family. In an open majlis, both men and women, where we share stories, current affairs, debate, and have very honest conversations about what's happening in our environment, but also around the world. And that gave me the independence, and it gave me that freedom to share my opinion in a very young age. So my grandparents actually, as a child, did not treat me like a child. They treated me like a leader and like a grown-up. So I'm very grateful for that.
This is a slightly left field question, I suppose, but do you feel, just kind of moving forward into present day, people don't realize this about the UAE or the region in general, that they, from the get-go, build strong women? Do you know what I mean?
The further you go geography, the less exposed they have about the UAE and the leadership of the UAE and how the UAE has supported women. But we go a long way, Liv. We've supported women even not just culturally in Islam. So if we talk about, women in the Muslim and Islamic days, they've always supported their society. They've been in battlefields. They've been in leadership roles across, different areas. And I have this very nice poem by one of the poets in 961. that says in Arabic, فلو أن النساء كمن ذكرنا لفضلت النساء على الرجال وما التأنيث لاسم الشمس عيب وما التذكير فخر للهلال. So basically the essence of this poetry, it shows and says that women during the battles back then were as strong and as powerful, and if not as even more generous than men.
Yeah, amazing. But this is something that inherently is part of the culture here, right? And it's something that you've been taught by the women in your life and your family in general, but it's also something you're passing on to your daughter as well, correct?
Absolutely. To me, when I look at powerful women, I look at my grandmother, I look at my mother, and I also look at my daughter. All three of them have been instrumental in shaping who I am. They inspire me, they lift me, but they also guide me. And I think having cross-generational role models and learning from each generation is something so imperative for your own personal and professional growth.
Absolutely. And can you talk me through some of the specific values you feel that you've taken from your early childhood into your career now?
I mean, as a child, I was very opinionated.
Yeah?
My mother.
I have no doubt.
My mother a little bit struggled with that, but bless her. But they've encouraged me to always speak my mind, to lead by my heart, and they've never stopped me. They've always encouraged my dreams, even though my dreams were so ambitious and beyond my years, but they've always supported me. They've never questioned it. They've given me the right ecosystem to grow, but yet with that growth and ambition to make sure it's guided by my values and by my culture and by my religion.
Of course. And then kind of moving into your formative years, you ended up studying, I believe, in London and at Harvard, correct?
So I studied, yes, both at London Business School and at Harvard University.
And then you ended up shaping one of the biggest companies and aviation platforms in the world, Etihad. I know we're skipping a few chapters here, but how would you say you've taken your early years into shaping you as a woman in business?
My career was not something by choice. I went to industries like aviation and fintech, not by choice. It just happened to be by destiny. But I was always guided by the power of storytelling, how brands shape perceptions, and how are you able to inspire people through global brands. And for me, working in different industries and in different organizations that are homegrown, be it Etihad and now WIO, makes me very proud because I'm able to be part of a narrative that how do we take UAE brands globally and how do we connect with people and we connect with places. So it was always, for me, it's about the impact you do towards people.
But in terms of Etihad specifically, you were really starting from scratch. You really were instrumental in shaping the global recognition the airline now has to today. How did you start from scratch at that stage? It must have been it's such a project to undertake. How did you approach that when you were going into that leadership role? Because you were young when you started as well. And it must have been quite daunting,
I started leadership roles very young, like being a mother at 21 and also having a team and leading a team at 23 years was...
Which is incredible, by the way.
It had its opportunities, but also it helped me grow so fast and learn a lot. So for me, working in aviation and working, for the national carrier is being a public servant. It's a responsibility, and you need to ensure that, one, you have the right ecosystem or you create the right ecosystem, but at the same time, you equipped yourself with the right people and the right processes and technologies so you're able to be ahead of the game and ahead of the curve. And for me, it was always... Till today, I never compare myself with others and I never compare my myself in the industry that I'm in with the people in my industry. I always look at other industries. How can I learn and bring innovation and disrupt in other industries and make my industry better and ahead of the game?
Of course. And I think you said to me before, is this true, that you find yourself as competition in a way? Is that correct?
I always compete with myself.
Yeah.
I don't look at others. My mom taught me and taught my sisters at a very young age growing up that you should not look at what others have or not have. Look at yourself. Always look inwards. And there's this very beautiful saying in Islam that she taught us, and it's always engraved in my mind and my heart, that says, حب لأخيك ما تحب لنفسك. That means love for others what you love for yourself.
That's beautiful. I love that. Of course, you know, building such an incredible career in such huge companies and businesses in the UAE, which are global now, it doesn't come without its challenges. Even as a leader, you know, you face challenges every single day, whether they're minute or, you know, on a bigger scale. But over the years, what would you say has shaped you as a leader and challenges that you've had to overcome where you've really thought, wow, that was something I learned from, but it was a hard challenge to go through at the time?
To me, I've faced so many different challenges, whether it's, you know, external or internal challenges. And obviously, you know, there are either politics or, you know, anything you want to name. But for me, I never look at a problem as a problem. I look at it as an opportunity and I say, okay, we've got this. How can we fix it? So I look at it in a very pragmatic point of view. If I look at examples, I can share so many examples, but what comes to mind in particular is during my days with Mubadala Investment Company. I was proud and privileged to be part of Team Abu Dhabi to launch the first satellite for Yasat years ago. And it was in French Guiana. So imagine to go there in a place where I've never been. They don't necessarily have the right infrastructure. It's full with, you know, male engineers. And you're trying to launch a satellite which had a 92% success rate. And you're taking, you know, a lot of important people with you for this launch that, you know, has only 88%
It's a lot of pressure.
So working on something like that, where you go to an unknown place, you don't know whether, you know, it's going to launch or not, but being able to prepare yourself for all scenarios and managing expectations in advance is something for me is key. And how you equip yourself is the more you communicate. So communicate. Even if you have to deliver bad news, but communicate that. Communicate that with honesty, with respect, and with empathy. That goes a long way.
Of course, it always does. That's such a lesson to learn from. Was there a single moment when you realized you weren't just building a simple career? Because really, regardless of where you are in the world, what you've built and the woman that you've become, you're a key opinion leader in this region. There's no doubt about it. And you've really built yourself a legacy. And especially in the UAE is incredible, where, you know, they do champion women amazingly well, but, you know, the industries that you are in are very male dominated. So to be able to say that you have become one of those key opinion leaders in those industries is remarkable. So when did you feel like you knew you were building more so a legacy rather than just a career? Was there a single moment that you can think about?
I feel I still need to do more.
Okay. Oh God, you're putting all of us to shame.
To do more for your community, for the people who believed in you, for the people who gave you the chance and the trust. And, you know, you look at the UAE, there are so many examples of role models across industry, and we all lift each other up. Legacy is about impact, and impact to me is not about titles. It's not about the career ladder, because that is being selfish. You know, careers come and go. It's about how do you open the path and help others so that they can continue their journey, and how do you come together as a community, both men and women, for the greater good? After all, we are all public servants.
Absolutely. It's almost like paying it forward. And this is something that, we've spoken about many times, but this is the values of the UAE. It's such a welcoming place. Emirati hospitality is come to me with open arms. How can I help you? And I definitely feel that, as knowing you as I do, that's reflected in your values for sure. Anytime we speak, it's how can I help you? It's not what can you do for me? It's how can you pay it forward, which is such a humble attitude to have, but also so incredible for building what you've built over the last 20 years.
And here in the UAE, Liv, it doesn't matter if you're Emirati or non-Emirati, we all come together and we all live by the values of the UAE.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Would you say, working in the industry you have worked in, being a woman in leadership, you've had to maybe navigate slightly differently to if you were a man in the industry?
Being a woman in a leadership role meant I had to prove my values twice. But it also meant for me to redefine what leadership meant. And how do you bring women's leadership into the table?
I love this. Can you give any examples of ways you've done that?
I've sat in many boardrooms being the only woman. And when you're the only woman, there's a lot of weight that you carry of other women's responsibilities. So for me, it was about, when was the right time to speak, how to speak, and what you say. And as a woman, you had to prove yourself more. Whereas with men, they've been dominant in the space, whether it's in the boardroom or the industry. So when a woman comes, the dynamics changes. You bring a lot of values and a lot of skills, specifically soft skills, into the mix that even men learn from. So we learn from each other.
But would you say sometimes you would be second guessing yourself?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There are so many moments where you'd second guess yourself. And you have to act with humility. And it's okay if you don't know the answers, and to be honest about it, because, you don't know everything. But it's important to be self-aware, and it's important to know, okay, what can I do to make sure that we overcome that? And people appreciate that. And with experience and doing something day to day and over the years, it becomes easier. It doesn't mean it's less harder.
Last year, after 10 years with Etihad, you took the leap to leave and start a new chapter. Was it a decision you had to really think about? Because after 10 years, you feel almost comfortable. I don't know. You had a family at Etihad. You built this incredible brand, which is now a global success, not just for its aviation, but also just as a pillar of the UAE, really, as the national carrier. How did you come to that decision to decide to embark upon your own journey?
That's a very deep question, I love Etihad. It will always be, part of my journey. Seeing it grow globally, I grew with it. So it will always be the national carrier that's precious and something that I'm very proud of as a brand, but also as an airline, and everyone who works tirelessly to make it what it is today. 10 years is a long time. It's the longest relationship probably I've been with. And I think it's very important to know when to leave. For me, leaving was about leaving at your highest, at your peak. And it was the last year, it was the best of times and the worst of times in many ways, but it was a time where that last year we opened the new Abu Dhabi Airport Zayed International. We brought back the most beautiful big bird that was flying the A380s back to our fleet. We opened over 20 destinations. We did the partnership with Paramount on Mission Impossible. We did the contract with Man City Football Club for the next 10 years for Team Abu Dhabi. And we also did the deal with Chennai Super Kings in India and many more. So for me, that was kind of a moment saying...
And that was just in a year.
That was exactly in a year.
Just 12
so I'm
months.
like, how will next year look like? And knowing and leaving, leaving a place at its highest, that's where you know, okay, now it's my time to pass on to others and look at an opportunity and an industry where you can learn and probably, have an impact or contribute in one way or another.
Mm-hmm. And you're now the Chief Marketing Officer for WeO Bank, which is a new era for you.
And I love it. I think for me, it's always about, the business of helping people, whether it's connecting people or being able to empower people, specifically in the world of finance and being financially independent. That's something also dear to my heart, especially how do you empower women and women in our region.
Exactly. I want to touch on, because you've talked about your incredible career, how you balance kind of this amazing professional growth with personal growth as well. How would you define the Amina in the boardroom compared with the Amina that is out of the boardroom? Is there a difference, or would you say there's not?
There's no difference.
There's no difference.
Whether I'm with friends here or around the world, or whether I'm in a boardroom, if it's corporate or, playing paddle, I'm always the same in terms of my personality and who I am. I'm very honest. I love to give. I don't necessarily want anything back. And I like to share, and I like to have a great conversation. And I think that for me is something, again, rooted in how my parents taught me. And they taught me to be honest, they taught me to be kind, and they taught me to be respectful towards others. And I will not be apologetic about who I am and what my opinion is. And I will listen.
Yeah. But you're also a person that won't apologize for, as you said, you won't be apologetic for who you are, and you will not stand for anything that's untoward, shall we say. You're not afraid, especially from being one of the only women in a boardroom with all of these global C-suite men. You're not afraid to call out the stuff that shouldn't be said.
I call them out all the time.
You know what I'm talking
about.
And
I do not care if I lose my job. The most important thing is I have to lead with honesty. And if it does not align with my values, I'm happy to walk away. And you're talking about a particular incident that I shared with you off the record, but I'm happy to share it with everyone.
I think it's important because sometimes people don't want to share because it ruffles feathers, but I think it's good to open up a conversation about this and show, this is how I'm able to handle myself in professional but unapologetic way.
I've sat in boardrooms where I was objectified, but I would immediately stop the conversation and respond back, and people would get shocked. And I think I have to be a role model first and foremost to myself, but also for my daughter and for her generation. And if I'm not able to speak up, how would I allow and how would I empower the women in my team and the women around me? People at the beginning get shocked, but then they respect you and they apologize.
Can you touch on the specific example you're meaning? I think it's a powerful moment.
So I was once sitting in a board meeting, and one of the board members, after I finished my presentation, I presented my part, the first thing that he said was, Amina, it's good to see you and you've lost weight.
How did you respond?
I just looked at him straight into the eye in front of everyone, calmly saying, instead of focusing on me, why don't you focus on the work that I've just shared with you? That's why we're here.
I love this. But that's a powerful moment. Was it like a mic drop in the boardroom?
It was. And then he apologized. And I said, you're not supposed to do this. Not just for me, for others.
But I think not just for you and for others, but as a woman, it's just basically, how would I say, it's really diminishing the work that you've just presented, but the work that you've built for yourself over your career. And this happens not just to you, but to many other people.
And he wouldn't have said it to a man.
Of course.
So why is it okay to say it to me or to a woman?
I know, it's not.
We've come a long way to have our voice and to have a seat on the table. You're not going to stop me or stop others. And if we don't have a seat, create the table, create the seat for you, share your voice, share your vision.
Have you ever felt like you've been underestimated throughout your career, would you say? Whether it's by your leaders, your family, you know, your acquaintances, do you ever feel like you've been underestimated and you've kind of proven people wrong?
At a younger age, I felt I was underestimated. When we talk about being in leadership roles and being in the corporate world 20 years ago, people, would doubt you. But I always saw doubt not as a stop signal. I saw it as a way to motivate myself and to push myself harder. You know, how do you push yourself beyond your boundaries, be it the choices of education and institutions that I went to, being accepted and studying in Harvard. That was, one of the first as Emiratis, but also one of the first in my family.
Incredible.
And being in leadership roles in a very young age, in my mid-20s. So I was able to do things to prove to myself. I don't need to prove it to others. Along the way, even when you change industries and you're new in a certain industry, some people would doubt you. But honestly, I've been blessed now to move into fintech. My boss is amazing. He supports me. The first few months when I joined, I was a bit hesitant because, I've been in aviation for 10 years. That was my world. And now entering into fintech. And he always tells me, Amina, you know more than what you think you know. And his push and his motivation has also gave me that confidence and courage to drive the business and what I do in fintech.
Yeah, but I suppose what you're doing is you're taking what you know from aviation and bringing it to fintech with a lens that sometimes if you know the industry too much, you're kind of too immersed in it in a way. You're coming in blind and you're like, this is what we should do. Do you understand what I'm saying? That actually it's best you don't know because actually you're just able to try so many different things. Whereas people have, if they had a different perception, perhaps it wouldn't be as successful because they would be too immersed in the product itself.
Yeah, absolutely. For me also is I get involved so much in the community. So it's not just about, my corporate life. It's also about contributing to the industries that I'm passionate about, and whether it's through my board positions across industries or spending time in mentorship and mentoring young women.
Did you ever think joining WEO, you would be going back to Abu Dhabi? Because you intended actually initially to start your own, go out on your own basically, right? And then it kind of took a 180. What made you decide to actually go back in-house for another brand?
I'm one of the very few people that is between and share the love between Dubai and Abu Dhabi. I basically live between both cities and everything I do is around both of these cities. And, I've experienced, I've started my own businesses when I was 23 years. So I've been an entrepreneur at a very young age. I've also started corporate life at a very young age. And I've done my own businesses.
Yeah.
So I don't have kind of a preference, but being a part of a larger organization, you're part of a larger vision. And I miss working with people, being around people, and that you're all together sharing one goal is something phenomenal. And I thrive and I strive with that.
Incredible. So that's what you're doing at WEO right now. What's the vision for WEO? under your kind of leadership?
Rio is an incredible brand. I mean, it's less than 3 years young, and I joined them at a scale-up moment. I think what the team has created in terms of making you invest, grow, and save money, especially in this part of the world, no one has done it the way Wio has done it. It's simple, it's smart, and it's disruptive. And for me, to be able to see my daughter uses Wio Personal and is investing in crypto and ETFs, and having my mother use Wio Business and, creating her own little empire is something phenomenal, because it made women financially independent, women who are in my family, and it made it easy for them to invest and grow and be independent.
But it's also across generations as well, which is amazing that your mother is doing it, but then also your 21-year-old daughter. She's 21, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, it's incredible. And how does this is part of the vision of WIO, of course, but how do they harness to be able to reach different age groups? Is that what they want to make financial independence for everyone?
Absolutely. The great thing with WIO is we're very agile. And we're very innovative, and we're using now even a lot of AI, but we're also very easy to work with. So wherever we see there is a problem, there is a challenge in our community, we come together and we say, okay, how can we fix this? How can we create something that makes people's lives easier, especially for the small, medium-sized enterprises? SMEs is a big market here. You don't necessarily see financial institutions necessarily giving them all the solutions that they need. So we want to, and we thrive to be the bank of choice for SMEs, and working also with Emirati entrepreneurs. We know entrepreneurship is embedded in the UAE.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more.
I come from an environment and from a family of entrepreneurs, be it my grandfather or my father, now my mother. So having that spirit, and how do you make sure that you create that right infrastructure for people in the UAE to grow their business from the UAE to the world?
As well as fintech and aviation, you're also fully embedded in the sports industry as well. Can you touch on that for me a little bit?
I'm very organized.
I know you are, actually. You live and die by your schedule, and I always get you very early.
And that's why we're here today. I've started investing and spending time in the business of sports, particularly tennis and football, in the UAE, to help the younger generation be more active in these two sports. But also I was in the business of F1 as well.
Very true, actually. Yeah.
And to me, I think when you create, grassroots projects, clinics, you bring role models to our youth, you inspire them to pursue a career in sports. And I think we need to create more younger Emiratis, both men and women, in sports. And we have some phenomenal players, whether it's in cycling, is it in football, in tennis, and paddle.
And there's also so much international investment in sport from the UAE in general. So, and they want people to be thriving in that, especially with you, as you said earlier, you worked on the acquisition of Man City, with Etihad and Abu Dhabi, and then obviously with the tennis in Abu Dhabi as well.
With Mubadala.
Yeah, with Mubadala.
And F1 also with Etihad.
Yeah. So plethora of different industries, Amina. It's incredible. Kind of rounding everything off, we've discussed your career and we've discussed what you've built for yourself. And you are one of the most humble people I know. But how would you say, and I know you previously said that you never define success as the titles, as the achievements that you have, but more in a kind of personal growth way. But would you say that definition of success has changed since you were 20 versus now?
Success means different thing to different people. And even for yourself, like what success meant when I was 20 versus now has evolved and changed. For me, success when I was 20 is about achievement, is about ticking the boxes, and fast forward, it's not about that. It's about impact. It's about how you make people feel, how do you help people grow, how do you help your society progress, how do you make even your parents and your children proud of you.
I like this. When we're talking about titles and legacy and everything like that, what would you want to be remembered for, especially as you've said about impact is really important to you when it comes to success?
I want to be remembered by how I've made people around me feel. And that's by being generous with your time, your heart, and being kind to people. For me, I think also I remember my grandmother, and I always think of her. And when I do anything, I'm just like in my head, what would she say? And for me, her opinion is the most important opinion. It's about how you make people feel around you. If you make people feel appreciated and loved and heard, that's it. That's the world.
And that's what your grandmother taught you?
Yes.
It seems like she was a really important person in
She
your life.
still is. I wish she was with us. She left us 4 years ago. But there's not a single day since I was a child until today that I don't think about her.
Yeah. You're getting slightly emotional.
Everything I do is rooted and is shaped and is guided by her. I know she's up there looking, at me, protecting me, and I just want to make her proud.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to do the things that she wasn't necessarily able to do, or she didn't necessarily have the opportunity. So, whether it was through my education or pursuing me to pursue my careers, and everything I am today is because of her.
I love that.
And I owe it to her.
I love this. What's your advice for the younger generation who would be starting their careers just like you were?
Listen to your parents. Don't wait for permission. Bring your own table and chair. Speak up and live by your values.
I love this.
Share your voice no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And finally, I would love to, as we call this podcast, it's the making of Amina. How would you describe your life so far in 3 words?
Transformative.
Mm-hmm.
Bold. And beautiful.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much, Amina.
Shukran.
You've been listening to The Making of, a podcast by Grazia. Visit graziamagazine.com/me for more from the worlds of fashion, beauty, and culture. And make sure you follow us on Instagram and TikTok @Grazia_ME.